Today, we are digging into a really serious security flaw in the N8N automation platform. This one's a big deal. It scored the highest possible threat level you can get. So let's break it down.
It all begins with this number, 10.0. In the world of cybersecurity, a 10.0 is the absolute ceiling. It doesn't get any more dangerous. This isn't just a high score. It's basically a 5-alarm fire, a declaration of maximum possible risk.
So, what does a 10.0 actually mean? Well, that score comes from something called the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, or CVSS. Think of it as the universal standard for rating how bad a software flaw is. A perfect 10 is reserved for the worst of the worst. Vulnerabilities that are not only easy for an attacker to use, but also give them complete and total control over a system.
And that brings us right to our first section, where we're going to unpack the sheer gravity of this thing. A perfect score really signifies a perfect storm of how easy it is to exploit and how devastating the impact is.
The potential for damage here is just catastrophic. We're not talking about a simple bug. An attacker could execute commands at the system level, basically acting as the administrator. They could destroy your most important workflows, and worse, steal every sensitive credential your N8N instance has access to. It is, for all intents and purposes, a full system takeover.
And here's the thing. This isn't a problem for just one type of user. This vulnerability hits everyone, whether you're running your own self-hosted server or you're a customer on the official NN cloud. That incredibly broad scope is why this is such an urgent issue, which leads us directly into a more technical concern.
So let's look at the actual mechanism. How is this even possible? The answer lies in what's called an authenticated path to execution.
The official advisory from NN is pretty direct about it. And the key phrase to focus on here is authenticated user. What this means is the attacker can't just be some random person on the internet. They have to already have valid login credentials for that NN instance. But once they're inside, certain conditions let them escalate their privileges way beyond anything they should be allowed to do.
The really crucial detail here is that the flaw has been pinpointed to one specific component inside 9N, the Git node. The root of the problem was a failure to use a specific validation check called isFilePathBlocked. Because that check was missing, it created an opening for what's known as an arbitrary file write, which is just a fancy way of saying an attacker could get the server to run their own malicious code.
Okay, so here are the exact version numbers you need to know. If your NN instance is version 0.123.0 or anything newer, but you haven't yet updated to 1.121.3, you are vulnerable. Period. Knowing your version number is absolutely the first step here. Now, building on that, let's look at what this means for an organization. This brings us to our final section, how an attacker can literally get the keys to the kingdom. We're going to talk about the cascading impact this vulnerability can have, and most importantly, the immediate response you need to take. You see, the real danger isn't just about compromising that one NN server. It's about an attacker using that server as a launchpad. In cybersecurity, this is a concept called lateral movement. They land on one machine, and from there, they start moving sideways through your network, looking for even more valuable systems and data.
Now, in a big enterprise setting, where NN is probably plugged into all sorts of DevOps pipelines and cloud services, the potential for disaster just skyrockets. This one flaw could be the starting point for a massive data breach, a supply chain attack, or even a complete takeover of your cloud infrastructure. So what's the most critical thing you need to do right now? The solution is thankfully straightforward, and it's really not negotiable. An immediate upgrade is the only way to fully patch this vulnerability and protect yourself.
The specific version you are looking for is 1.1213, or any release that's come out since. This is the version that contains the fix that closes the security hole for good. This is the definitive solution.
Now, what if you just can't upgrade right this second? Okay, there are some temporary measures you can take. You can disable that vulnerable Git node entirely, and make sure only your most trusted users can create or edit workflows. But let's be crystal clear. These are just stopgaps. They reduce your exposure, but they do not eliminate the risk.
It's also really important to see this flaw in a broader context. This CVSS 10.0 vulnerability didn't come out of nowhere. It follows a series of other extremely critical flaws in NN, both of which were rated 9.9. This pattern suggests that maybe just reacting to security problems after they're found isn't going to be enough anymore. And that leads us to a final, really critical question to think about. When a platform has repeated, high-severity vulnerabilities like this, we have to ask ourselves, has the time for simply patching things after the fact passed? Is continuous, proactive security monitoring no longer just a nice-to-have, but an absolutely essential cost of doing business?